So in this video, you're going to watch me break down a bariatric case study step by step, where in the real world, we're not just dealing with someone's weight in the static position, we're dealing with multiple competing factors. Limited hip flexion, limited knee flexion, all these things that are going on that make this theory not exactly practical. So what do we do in the practical sense? These are the type of case studies that people never teach you properly. And they're often situations where you don't even know what the problem is. Like things look fine. The person's somewhat comfortable. It's a replacement power wheelchair. There's no complaints. Easy. But get this wrong, it leads to complaints to you and your reputation. But in reality, it's quite risky for the client if they're going to get a pressure injury or if they're uncomfortable. And we don't want to be testing or learning on the job with someone's mobility. We want to know what is actually right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through exactly what to do from start to finish if you ever get a client like this, so you can see the theory and apply it to practice. Let's get into it. Yeah.
But she had limited hip flexion, knee flexion. So we cannot get the knees past about 110.
Okay.
And the hips are about the same.
Okay. And both hips or
really
one hip?
Both. One's
Both
probably
hips.
and one's 110 or one's, maybe even closer to 120. Like it seems to just progressively be getting harder.
Yeah.
She's obviously quite large. So she's hard to see. And then like very wide, we've got a lot of spread. So like the cushions and stuff are hard because she almost just sits on top of them.
Yes.
Rather than in them because she's...
Yeah. It just means the cushion's not the right size. If you're
Yes.
sitting on top of them, we'll probably need to go a wider cushion. But okay, let's get through what's going on here.
We are in the process of trialing. We've done a couple of trials to then apply to NDIS. So we haven't locked anything down. And
Beautiful.
So I was like, it'd be a good chance to point out some things to think about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go through everything we need. So first of all, what's her current weight?
120, I think.
120.
Was last time. So yeah.
120. Okay, so that's good because that means we're still open for all the non-bariatric equipment. So the M3, the Quantum, all the Magic, all that's got 150 kilo weight capacity. So we don't have to go a HD chair because a lot of these chairs are rated to 150 now.
She last was about 120, 130.
Yeah. So she's getting close there. So like HD is something that you want to explore, but yeah, if her weight's not getting, if it's not aggressively getting bigger, then yeah. The reason why I say that is because there's a couple of things here. One, if she's got limited hip flexion, how I would like to see her is in a shorter seat depth, but really opened up. So I want to picture her lying down, and then we want to see as she comes up, what is her hip range actually? Because right now she's in a lot of posterior tilt, and the cushion is accommodating for that, which she may not need to be in that much posterior tilt. So if we have, say that's a 20-inch long cushion, she's never going to sit more upright than that, because her knee crease is all the way out the front of it. So I don't even know if we can get, maybe this is how she needs to sit, maybe it's not. But either way, it's not ideal. Even if that is how she needs to sit, then I would be cautious using things like the Specs Constructor because her eyes are going to hit that shelf of the cushion. So if there's a well in the cushion, let's say this book, and this is like, my hand is the well is where your bum, this is where your ITs need to sit.
Yeah.
If you're like this, she's going to be sitting on this thing.
Yeah.
So pressure wise, we don't want that. If we do need to sit on a shelf like this, then we need something that is going to envelop her IT a bit more, something more like a thicker gel or an air cushion on there. But I don't think we're at that stage yet. I think she's just in a posterior tilt because we've got her in a cushion that's too long.
Yeah.
So what I would do if I was in this situation, do you know what size cushion that is?
I think it's a 22 maybe.
Wide or long?
Wide. And then I think it might be an 18 or a 19 long depth.
Okay. Let's assume it's 18 long. This is going to be hard because they're not going to have a cushion this size. But ideally,
she's very small.
I know, I can tell. Like ideally, we kind of want to try something of a 22 maybe by 16. Because if that's 20 by 18, it looks like I want to get 2 inches wider and 2 inches shorter. Now, if you tell whoever your supplier that, they're going to be like, Reese, we do not have a 22 by 16 cushion in a Specs Constructor. Get out of here. But speak to them because that's what they need. Whether you do that or a different cushion, even just to get a concept, even if we trial a cushion that's similar to that, like a 20 by 16, just to see size wise, can we actually get let's allow her to go back into the cushion itself first. And so once we do that, we want to, we need to see if she can get out of that posterior pelvic tilt. So we need to shorten the seat depth to see if that's even possible. Now, how do we see it's possible? I would lay her out quite flat, like I was saying earlier, like a supine position, and then we pop her into the chair like that. So you imagine this chair that had recline and it was like this, and it was shorter. It would allow us to get her hips all the way back. And regardless of a hip limitation, doesn't matter because she's well opened up at this point. So it's like almost like a supine position. Like if she can lie down, sweet, let's open up the chair. And then once we open up the chair, and it allows us to get her hips back because the seat depth's not getting in the way. Then we can start to explore, all right, how much can we bring the backrest up before we start either causing pain or starting losing her positioning.
Yep.
So essentially we want to see, I reckon you would be able to fit her in a 22-inch wide by 16, but
Yep.
you'd need to open it up first, and then you need to find that angle as to where she starts losing it.
Yep.
That's
And then we can fix the backrest at that angle, essentially, is what we want to do.
potentially,
I want to come further forward.
You could limit it so it didn't come forward anymore if it was programmed. You could do a non-power reclining backrest. If she's got MS, she's progressive, I'm sure we're probably going to want power recline. If she's bariatric, she's got limited hip mobility. So you're probably going to want to go power recline anyway, but you can limit it as you said.
Backwards, but not come forward, because the problem we've got is, so we're looking at the centro glide with the, I don't know, whatever the control is called that allows you to do programmed seating.
Memory seat functions?
Yes, because the carers at the moment, she's got a lot of carers that swap, and
perfect.
She's just in whack position.
Yeah, that is perfect. You definitely want, and that's what I was going to bring up next, is like in terms of the chairs, glide sensor can do memory seat functions, great. Permobil can do it. Quantum can do it if you have all the power seat functions, but not at the moment. It's a bit of a gray area at the moment. But that's why I was mentioning, like, it's good to know what kind of chairs we can go with.
Because that's what base-wise we've looked at.
Yep. Memory seat functions.
It was able to navigate the curves and stuff that we've got here.
Excellent.
Pretty
That's
well.
exactly what we want. The other thing I think you need to consider is that because she may need a 22-inch wide cushion, I would speak to your supplier. I'm not too sure about how to do on the glide centro, but she might be 20 inches at the torso, but she's 22-inch wide at the base. But unfortunately with the glide centro, if you go 22 inches wide at the base, that means the armrest and everything else will be widened out with it. And that's going to make the chair really wide. It's also going to abduct her shoulders more than what's necessary. So ideally we want the armrest and the backrest tucked in at 20 and allow for 22 at the base.
Yeah.
How they do that on a glide centro, I'm not sure. I think you can get inset back canes, but I don't know if you can do it with power recline. That's when you can explore
I think
other
they
chairs
did
that
talk to us about inset back canes potentially.
So-
Because that was then in the trial chairs. Obviously, they're not sometimes that specific.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going way out here for the controller.
Yeah. So as long as it's possible, I don't mind how they do it. The goal is to keep the arms as tucked in as possible because this is the widest part, and to not cause unnecessary abduction. So she's 20 inches wide there. That looks good. Her arms look like this is like a good width of what we want. But I think on the quote I saw you went 24. And if you went 24 and didn't do some sort of inset, it's just going to be a really wide chair.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've accommodated for that, but that's a good factor to consider.
What are like the key things you're doing for like a gluteal shelf? Because like you can't see it here because she's got the sling bunched up.
Yes. Great question.
But are you then accommodate? What are you doing?
Yeah. What backrest did you go? I see a Dreamline Hardware. What did you go there? Do you know what backrest we went?
We tried a few. I think we're going. What she have? She had the Dreamline. Whoa. I don't know why that one's so just.
Yeah. See, she's so posterior really tilted there.
Where are you looking?
All of that.
We've got like a curve, and then she's it doesn't help. She's currently on a Vicare.
Cushion?
Yeah.
Seat cushion or backrest?
No, she's on a Specs backrest and a Vicare cushion currently. Yeah. Like when she came into trial, the Vicare was backwards on her chair.
Yep, these things happen. The good thing about a Vicare is that's the most forgiving to get on backwards.
Yes, but she was like, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't helping.
Yeah.
So that's why, then that's us out. Oh, that's us testing the curves because we've done a few trials. I didn't take sideways photos of this one.
That's okay. I get what would happen for a woman of that size. There's a gluteal shelf that's also going to cause her into a posterior tilt.
Yeah, that was the dream one.
So for me, I think especially when you go on recline, if you can do backrests, that Specs have these bi-hinge backrests, which are designed for bariatric clients. But I think that when you go into recline, all that's going to move anyway, and it's going to be a bit tricky to get right. Like you can do a Exella backrest. It's basically a backrest where you can hinge it right at the PSIS where the gluteal shelf is. So they have some sort of support behind their bottom, but you can hinge it out of the way to allow that bottom to sit back into it. So that's generally what I would do. Either that, do a hinge backrest that allows you to move the bottom half away, or I would just stop the backrest at the gluteal shelf.
Yeah, cool.
And that way it's just sitting at the PSIS, which is how I set up all my backrests anyway. And then you allow the tissue to sit underneath the backrest.
That was what I wanted to do.
Yeah, which is fine. It's exactly what you want to do. So as long as what you want to do is maintain surface contact as much as possible everywhere else on the back. But bariatric seating is a very tricky thing. It's very tricky to get that bit right. Sometimes what I've done before is do a really thick backrest and I'll scoop out the bottom of the backrest on some other chairs, like to scoop out the bottom, like for her bottom. But yeah, I would say just
so I was thinking going the shorter backrest that essentially there stops above the gluteal shelf where the PSIS is. And to her bottom still pushes her forward in the seat when she reclines.
Quick pause here. Let's summarize where we're at. We've got a client who's 120 kilos and gaining weight and also sitting in posterior pelvic tilt for two main reasons. The first reason was because the cushion is far too long. So it doesn't matter what you do with the seating, doesn't matter what supports you have. If your cushion's too long, it's going to slide the person forward. It's just science. You can't stop somebody from sitting upright if there's a physical barrier stopping that. So we need to get the cushion shorter. And we also need to see what's going on with the hip angle as well. Ideally, we want to open up the backrest as much as possible, transfer into the chair, open up the backrest. That's going to allow us to get her all the way back into the chair once we have a shorter cushion. And it's also going to see what kind of hip range she has. If she's all the way open, then over time, we can gradually build her up and see at what point does the hip limitation kick in. And then that's the limit of what we have, because then otherwise beyond there, she'll start to slide forward. The other reason she might be sliding forward is because of her bottom as well. In bariatric seating, they're going to have bigger bottoms. And when you've got a bottom and it's got nowhere to go, it's got a bottom pushing up against the wall, it's going to push the hips forward. What we want to do is allow space for the bottom to come back under the backrest so someone can sit all the way back into the chair. We also covered the fact that shoulders will be abducted. So even if you're bariatric, your shoulders will remain relatively normal, right? It's a skeletal part. So if you've got wide hips, we don't want to have the arms out wider than we need to. So it'd be good if we could have inset back canes to allow the arms to come in narrow, but still allow enough width under the chair. Also, if you like learning through case studies and step-by-step frameworks, head to www.wheelieworks.com to find out how you can get a structured program so you can stop second-guessing your wheelchair prescriptions and know exactly what to do for the client to protect them and protect you. Let's get back to the video. Yeah, I think that's what you need to test. This is what I'm going to bring up next, is that when you go into recline with these chairs, they don't have an anti-shear plate. So when you go into recline, like when the back pivots here and your hips are pivoting here, you're going to get shear. Do you see like how if this is like my person and they're open, like if the person's opening up, where if this is the back cane, like there's a difference in space here. So even if they both opened up 100 degrees, there's a difference in space between my two fingertips as I go here.
Yeah.
And that shear means that the backrest is going to move. Like when you go into recline, where you position the backrest like this, the backrest is not going to be where it is in relation to the client there. So the gap, the gluteal shelf gap is going to be bigger because the backrest is essentially going to ride up.
Yeah.
So this is the challenge. Like I know you've already picked this chair, so I'm not saying don't go this chair, but this is a challenge with these chairs that don't have an anti-shear plate, or something that you at least need to check to see if it's an issue. That once we set it up where the backrest stops at a PSIS, cool. Let's see how she goes in recline. And are we losing too much contact with the backrest for this to be a safe option?
Yeah.
Now, maybe the way the pivot points are, it's like, there's a lot of things that affect this. I'm not going to tell you this is not the right chair, but this is just what I would look for to be like, all right, cool. We've stopped it at the gluteal shelf. We've supported her. Now we're going to recline. Where's the backrest sit in relation to her? And are we only really holding her up from a rib cage higher? Maybe that's all. Maybe we need to work out another solution to give her support while she's in recline. And if we can't do that through this chair, then you might need to explore another chair that does have anti-shear characteristics.
Yeah.
But yeah, or just not utilize as much recline. Just have it as a fixed seat to back angle, and then just for that reason, not use a recline.
Use tilt more.
Use tilt more.
Yeah. Okay, she doesn't use recline too much currently, but obviously progressive condition we're expecting.
Yeah.
And we're sitting at this kind of precipice of change at the moment, function, which makes it hard as well.
It's a hard situation because even if you do go the backrest with the power anti-shear plate like Permobil or Quantum, they don't have back canes. They have a central spine plate. So it's harder to fit the gluteal shelf underneath the backrest because there's something there now. So then you have to make the backrest thicker. And when you make the backrest thicker, then that also messes up the pivot points. And there's no real good, like, with bariatric seating, it's a very difficult thing to get.
That's why I was like, she's it's compromised, I think, in spaces like there's just.
Yeah, there's compromise in
the
this situation.
dimensions, just sometimes you can't make everything work.
No, not at the moment. But you can always ask the questions. You can ask, like, you can understand what we're looking for.
Yeah,
from there, you can always ask your supplier and what solutions can we do from there. But for me, that's the challenge that you're going to find with bariatric seating is that you want back canes so you can get the bottom underneath. But when you go back canes, your power recline usually isn't effective enough to maintain a position on their back. when they go into recline.
Yeah. Because she's, quite a small height.
Petite person. Yes, she's quite petite. So this is where I think
She's wide.
your cushion depth, just because it's the trial, it's not like necessarily the
Oh,
the way
yeah.
you supply the
Yeah.
way it's set
No.
up. It's just
So
that.
yeah. And then we looked at then swing ways versus send him out as well.
Yeah. Swing way versus send him out. Like
They
sometimes
get to their knee, so she pushes out. But then with the send him out, her legs are just like way off. They're not even on the foot plates.
yeah. I mean, this is always going to be a tricky one with center mounts. I still favor the center mounts. A lot of people will say swing aways are good for bariatric because it allows for the legs to come out wider. But my opinion is I think we should go a center mount with an extra wide foot plate as long as it clears the casters. That allows us to keep our knees tucked in as much as possible, and doesn't mean there's nothing on the sides to get hurt or damaged. And then, then you still get the ability to elevate them if you need to as well.
Yeah. And yes, hers should probably clear the casters because she doesn't have like enough knee flexion.
Okay, if she doesn't have enough knee flexion, then you can still go center mounts and then have them stick out a bit more, so you definitely clear the casters. I'm not against the swing weight. I just think it's something to hit. They're weaker, and there's more things to get pressure injuries on. So if we don't need them, get rid of them. She's hoist transferred. Why do it? And they don't look as good. I just think send them out. Like it just looks like more wheelchair, and so there's nothing going for it for me besides the ability to have the alignment. But if you can get that with center mounts, then just do that.
Yeah. No, true. Handy.
In my opinion.
Retrial a bit. Because, especially what would be the point where you would say you absolutely have to go to a HD wheelchair?
Depends on the brand. I believe the glides are rated, I think they're rated to like maybe 160. Most chairs are rated now around that 150. Like Magic's 150, Permobill's 150, Quantum's 150. Yeah, so I think if you got about 30 kilos of tolerance, then I think you're good then. I think once you start encroaching 10 kilos, 15 kilos to the weight limit, that's when you want to look at something else.
Yeah.
But the Glide does have a HD one. I know the Glide Sensor, the bariatric one, is 250 kilos.
Yeah.
So if you're happy with the Glide, then stick with that. But otherwise you can go Permobills or Quantum HDs. There's HD versions of those chairs as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just, I'm concerned that like she's put on a lot of weight that she'll continue to as she becomes less mobile.
Definitely something you want to
Side effect
factor
of
in.
her medication and things like that. So I think the range needs to be significantly
higher.
Because I reckon in the last 12 to 18 months, she's probably put on 30 kilos.
I think when people put on a lot, there is a fear she's going to put on another 30. But I would like to think that when someone puts on 30 kilos, enough flags have been raised where there's comorbidity issues that we also need to be worrying about. It's important that we should also make sure that doesn't keep happening. If that's a medication thing, then we need to assess the doctor about medication. Is it an exercise thing? Is it a food thing? Is it a mental health thing? I don't know what's gone on in the past 12 to 18 months. I just know if you're in a wheelchair all day, it's very hard to burn calories. So what can we do to help this person?
There are a lot of those, pretty much plus or minus all of them.
Yeah.
But
so whilst we could be putting on another 30 kilos, I'd like to think at 30 kilos, probably someone's flagged situations, not necessarily the OT, but someone at some stage, we need to be doing something about this. You'd know more about the social and the medical team, what their thoughts are on it, but that's what I'd be checking. Is this going to continue, or is this an active thing? Well, no, we cannot go to 35 kilos. Is she pre-diabetic, or all this? This is a massive thing that everyone's focused on, or is it like, well, her social network doesn't afford that, so unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen. It could get worse.
Yeah.
So either one of those are possible, but that's just what my thoughts are.
Yep. Good. I'll check with the team. I think we'll do another trial.
A great outcome. Another trial is exactly what we need. Just to summarize the second half of what we discussed, what we talked about was the anti-shear plate. And so basically when someone goes into recline, there's going to be movement on there as well. So if you've got a backrest that's shaped in a particular way, like a bariatric backrest that accommodates for a gluteal shelf, just know that when you go into recline, it may not be in the same spot as it was before. So these are the things that we need to check. We also want to check the safe working limit of the device, not just now, but in the future. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. See you at the next video.